What is there left to say about Zack Snyder? In 2021 alone, the filmmaker dropped two huge directorial efforts and produced more films alongside that. Looking back at his entire career, it's wild to see where the filmmaker is now and to see how each one of his films has made a big impact. Now today, for this list, we will be ranking Zack Snyder's films from worst to best. This is based on my personal opinion, but I have taken into consideration the fan conversations, the critiques he's gotten throughout his career, and each film's cultural relevance. If you don't agree with this ranking, I would love to know your feelings, so don't forget to share them in the comments down below. Now enough of this intro, let's dive into every Zack Snyder film ranked. Number 9, Legends of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. This is a good reminder that I personally don't hate any Zack Snyder film. Each one of them adds something to his overall legacy, and they're all fairly unique films. With that being said though, Legends of the Guardian feels like the least Zack Snyder film out of any of his work. It's not just the fact that it's animated, which does feel kind of odd, but the story and the world building aren't as strong as other Snyder entries. The dark tone and stunning visual style though is something to compliment. It looks so good and it feels so unique. If this had a stronger story, maybe diving into Snyder's loves of gods and giant mythos, it could have been a top tier entry. But with this being the only Zack Snyder animated film and having a lackluster story, that's why this ranks at the bottom of the list. Number 8, Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is really enjoyable with a lot of great ideas thrown at the screen, but that lies the issue. It feels like there is so much thrown at the screen and they're just hoping for something to stick. In later Zack Snyder films, there seems to be a method to the madness. Controlled chaos is what I like to call things like Man of Steel and Justice League. Sucker Punch is just pure chaos. But that chaos does seem to work for the overall narrative of the film, so this one always leaves me torn. The film's story and central performance by Emily Browning are so layered and so intriguing, but it just happens that there's so much in this movie that it becomes a disservice to that core story. This film has a lot of potential but crumbles under the weight of itself. Number 7, 300. Look, this movie put Snyder on the map as the filmmaker he is today. 300 is an epic in every sense of the word. It looks cool, it sounds cool, the action is cool, but that's about as far as I go with this one. I'm sure that this is someone's favorite Snyder film, and I want to know that in the comments down below, and that makes me happy. But besides the campy and homoerotic tone, this isn't really for me. You can tell Snyder's love of artful filmmaking is present here, and that makes this such a wonderful piece to watch. But the story is a problematic mess. The characters are too outlandish, even for my campy appeal, and it just feels like it's trying to figure itself out as it goes along its runtime. Honestly, Snyder would do the whole 300 style fight scene better in a flashback for Justice League than he does in this film. Sorry, but it's true. Number 6, Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead is Snyder at his funniest. Of course, this movie is morose and insanely bloody, but damn if this doesn't feel like one of the most fun projects to be a part of. If you look at the behind the scenes documentary released by Netflix for this film, you would grow to appreciate how much went into making this film. Just on initial glance, you cannot tell that there was some innovative filmmaking happening here to make this one of the best American zombie movies in decades. Army of the Dead does have some questionable characters though, leading to some pretty eye-rolling moments, but sometimes horror does need dumb characters to up the body count by the end. The King and Queen Zombie deserved way more love from horror fans, as they were truly some of the most inventive horror villains in quite some time. Look, I like Army of the Dead and I do have fun with it, but I think Snyder and Zombies worked a bit better earlier in his career. Number 5, Dawn of the Dead. Snyder really needs to make more horror films. For as much as he loves the superhero genre, films like Dawn of the Dead prove he is just as strong in this genre as he is in other genres. Overall, the 2000s is known for some brutality in its horror, and this film has no shortage of gore, But this is also a good example of tension and drama enhancing the brutality. You feel the emotional weights of this event, and it just isn't mindless killing like a lot of people say Army of the Dead has. Dawn of the Dead shows that you can focus on the interpersonal drama that unfolds during a zombie outbreak, and it doesn't have to be some drawn out bore fest like so many others are. No, this film has life, personality, and feels like an insane ride from start to finish. Speaking of starts, this has to be one of the best cold opens in any horror film, and we should put more respect on this because this movie is wild from the jump and such an entertaining romp. Number 4. Man of Steel. There's a simplicity to Man of Steel that I admire. While the other Snyder DC movies become overstuffed with so much comic book goodness, Man of Steel is a pure Superman story and delivers on just that. Sure, Snyder takes some liberties with the character and changes what we think makes the man in the cape, but he does so with such intent that I have to stop and admire that. Man of Steel's ranking here will start the WTF moments on this list for sure, but I love it no matter where I rank it. It's a powerful film about family, about finding who you are and the pain of cutting yourself off from old connections that you thought you needed. This has so much to say, and it's all wrapped up in a grim, brutal, badass action movie that feels so unique to its superhero peers. If you look at all the other superhero movies, there is not a comic book origin film that feels like that, and this is why Man of Steel is so beloved by so many. Number 3. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Justice League is Zack Snyder at his most Zack Snyder-ish. We went from one of his most tame DC entries to one of his most outlandish. It's hard to talk about this movie without all the massive drama around it, the drama that's still going on to this day, but trying to focus on just Justice League itself, this is a insane, over-the-top, joyful look at the world of Zack Snyder's DC universe. If you love the comics, you appreciate what this attempts to do. I truly feel like this is an epic, only outmatched by Avengers Endgame. No matter how you feel about Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's wild to think that we went from a hashtag movement to a real reality. Snyder did everything he needed to do here to perfection, from the marketing to the film itself. He reclaimed his passion project. From its now infamous story to the actual film itself, Zack Snyder's Justice League is the power of a director unleashed, and we need way more of that. Number 2. Batman v Superman. Yes, I included the Ultimate Edition, that's the only real version of this movie that counts, and oh boy, I know this will anger people. There is no doubt though, if you're a Zack Snyder fan, this is a top tier entry for you, and if you're a hater of Zack Snyder, why are you watching this ranking anyway? Look, Batman v Superman is one of the most talked about films of all time, and that's just from people who dislike it. And look, I understand the criticism. The film tries to do a bit too much at times, and it's extremely bleak, and yeah, I know that Martha's scene is cringe, but there is no perfect DC movie, and the flaws here don't distract from the overall piece. For me, the positives outweigh the negatives here. Affleck has never been better, Henry Cavill adds more layers to his Superman role, and Jesse Eisenberg does everything at one time. You also cannot forget that introduction of Wonder Woman. This is a surprisingly well-acted film for its insanity, and then when you need it to be a badass action movie, you will never forget these big, bombastic fights. Number 1. Watchmen. Watchmen is Snyder working on another level. He's adapting one of the most iconic works of fiction. This is at a point in his career before it seemed like the world turned against him, and he's doing something very unlike any other superhero movie. Watchmen is truly a moment in time that many of us won't forget. Much like Justice League, many remember the hype and hate around this film, and that only adds to its legacy. Watchmen is a glutton's dream when it comes to movies. It is so stylized, so much is happening, trying to say so much about society, and this was doing superhero conversations before the genre even hit its next level. There is no pan, zoom, or edit that is done without an insane purpose. That's why this ranks so high on this list. Zack Snyder was working on a level that I don't think we'll ever see at again. This was pure crazy art happening in the superhero world, and that's why this ranks as Zack Snyder's best film. Alright everyone, what did you think of this list? Are you a fan of my Zack Snyder ranking? Let me know your rankings down in the comments below. Where does Batman v Superman lie for you? Are you a fan of Sucker Punch? Did I put it too low? Share your feelings down in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Alright everyone, let's talk about Zack Snyder down below.